So welcome everyone to the Therapist Throwdown, the first live competition in mental health training. I am Tony Ruminir, and I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Alexandre Vaz. We're both from the Deliver Practice Institute. The goal of the Therapist Throwdown is to demonstrate how deliver practice, showing your mistakes, and getting feedback can be done in a way that is respectful, compassionate, and fun. Previously, 19 courageous trainees from around the world participated in a preliminary round by submitting videos of themselves performing therapy with videos of actors playing mock therapy clients. The top 3 scoring trainees from that round have advanced to this final round today. We are very honored to be joined by our celebrity guest judges, James Boswell, an expert in cognitive behavioral therapy, and Hannah Levinson, an expert in psychodynamic psychotherapy. Thank you, judges, for joining us. The Therapist Throwdown is sponsored by psychotherapy.net and Very Bad Therapy Podcast. Let's get ready to rumble!
Yay! You waited your whole life to scream that. Our first contestant for the night is the courageous Chen Eng, who is a second-year counseling psychology student at New York University. She is in the Culture, Emotional, and Health Lab, headed by Professor William Tsai. Welcome, Jan. You will see 2 video prompts. Please reply to each prompt following the skill criteria that will appear on the screen. The judges will then provide a score and feedback. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, good luck.
I'm an Alcoholic Anonymous, and on the step where we say sorry to people. I've been making a list of all the people I've disappointed and hurt, and there's so many. I don't even know if I can handle it.
Do I respond now? Okay. I hear that it's been so painful for you to go through this exercise with Alcoholics Anonymous. The pain of writing, of listing out the people that you've hurt, and feeling what it must have been like for them and for yourself. Yep, this.
Great. Okay. Now let's bring up our celebrity guest judges. And going alphabetically, Dr. James Boswell, can you please provide a score and feedback?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks. I think you did a really excellent job. First of all, I'll just say that in sort of thinking through the skill criteria, you jumped right into giving a reflection. It was a reflection of meaning around sort of the nature of the Alcoholic Anonymous step that she's going through, but also feeling in terms of trying to really identify that pain that was sort of behind what this client was sharing with you. And so you mentioned that a couple of times. So I think that was a really good sort of reflection of feeling that you really targeted there. And I do think your tone, just in terms of the tone, the pacing, the nonverbal behavior really showed a sense that you were caring for the client, that you were listening carefully, that you were concerned. And so the criteria sort of looking at tentativeness or exploratory, I think it's exploratory insofar as you were taking a gentle stance in trying to sort of reflect what they were sharing with you without making a statement and sort of implying things about her experience that weren't, immediately available. And so overall, I'd say that was really well done. I would give it a 9 out of 10. And because you I think you hit on the two main criteria, and you didn't do the third thing that we're trying to avoid doing in this particular skill. So thanks.
Great, thank you, Dr. Boswell. Dr. Hannah Levinson. You're muted, please, unmute, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful. I really appreciated your soft voice, your intonation, the pacing that you used. Of course, this is an impossible task without any context in which to know what's happened before and certainly what will happen after. You accurately reflected, I think, the meaning behind what the client was saying. I would have liked to have heard more about the meaning part in addition to the feeling part. And I think you used a tentative and exploratory aspect, and you certainly didn't question or advise. So I thought you hit most of the skill criteria, and I'm going to give you an 8.5.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Levinson. All right, let's move on to the next video.
Honestly, I don't think you can help me. I mean, maybe if I had your life, I could just sit around and relax, but I don't. So I don't see how you can probably help me fix my problem for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it must have taken a lot of courage for you to tell me how you feel, especially your concerns and your doubts, that I can help you in therapy, right? And it makes so much sense, right? That you feel like that maybe that we lead very different lives, and maybe I may not understand how you feel, and that totally makes sense. I'm wondering, what's it like for you to tell me that perhaps I don't understand you? How are you feeling right now?
Great. Great work, Jen. Let's bring our celebrity judges back. Dr. James Boswell.
So, I mean, once again, I think your tone in response to this very difficult therapy scenario, it's impressive, sort of how you're a stable and calming foundation, in this particular example, responding to this rupture, and you immediately expressed appreciation for the client sort of disclosing that experience. So you were open to inviting more of an exploration of that, and so that appreciation was clearly there. You conveyed empathy and validation, and sort of thinking about the skill criteria, and sort of taking the and/or accountability very specifically. There's a way in which sort of in taking accountability, it's sort of willingness to explore the fact that maybe we contributed something to the rupture that's being brought up in that moment, and sort of more immediately inviting having a discussion about that accountability, sort of our contribution as therapists. But there's only so much that you can fit into an initial response. And so, I think in sort of moving to conveying empathy and validation, really, I think hits that criteria from my perspective for the most part. And then also engaging in a question, again, to invite the client to then say a bit more about sort of in this particular case, inviting them to share a little bit more about their experience of disclosing this to you. So again, you're opening up the door for you to have a conversation. So again, I think that I'm not really, to be completely honest, as a judge, I'm not really sure what a perfect response would be, but I think you're pretty darn near perfect in my perspective. So I'm going to go 9 again for that one.
Tony, you're muted.
Dr. Hannah Levinson, please.
Yes, thank you. This was just lovely. I admired your straightforwardness. You owned it. You kept yourself emotionally regulated, which is saying a lot with this kind of confrontation. You gave her accolades for having courage, which I found very moving. So I very much appreciated your response here. You conveyed empathy and validation, and then you invited her to say more, all with an attitude of calmness and receptivity. So I really, really liked your response, and I'm giving you a 9.
Great. Congratulations, Jen. You got some high scores there. Great. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, Jen, we're going to move you to the breakout room, and we will see you again after the other 2 contestants have performed. All right.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I so appreciated the feedback. That was so helpful.
Great.
So I want to present to everyone our second courageous contestant is Chen, who is a 4th-year clinical psychology student at Furkov Graduate School of Psychology at Yeshiva University. She is in Professor Vera Beek's research lab. Welcome, Jolly. You will see 2 video prompts. Please reply to each prompt following the skill criteria that will appear on your screen. The expert judges we have today will then provide a brief feedback and score. Are you ready?
Sounds great.
All right, good luck.
I'm in Alcoholic Anonymous, and on the step where we say sorry to people. I've been making a list of all the people I've disappointed and hurt, and there's so many. I don't even know if I can handle it.
It sounds like the idea of saying sorry to people really brought up a lot of guilt and pain in you. It's almost overwhelming to think about what you do right now.
Great. Thank you, Jolly. And Dr. James Boswell, can you go first with your scoring and feedback, please?
Sure, thanks. So I think you did an excellent job. Somebody who's coming in with clearly, you identified the pain. And so in thinking about reflection of feeling in particular, sort of this notion of feeling guilty, feeling overwhelmed. So trying to reflect and identify that within the client. I think that was nicely done. I think that the tone was also appropriate given the circumstances, and the pain that the client was experiencing. I think it was well said. The tone and the pace were good. And the only sort of piece to note, I think, even though I think you're probably on the right track, would be, I think, in terms of the exploratory nature of the response. It's like, I think overwhelming is probably a pretty safe reflection. I think guilt is, you're probably on the right track, but my only piece of feedback might be, I'm not sure that I would necessarily hone in on naming it so specifically. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's shame. It's hard to know, and so maybe a little bit more tentative and sort of putting out that am I capturing that particular emotional response accurately or not? But in general, very well done. And I would say an 8 out of 10.
Great, congratulations. And Dr. Hannah Levinson.
Yes, thank you so much for that lovely, straightforward, right to the point, empathic understanding. I agree with James that I probably would have been more exploratory and not so much naming the guilt, but I admire your forthrightness in making that conjecture. And certainly this is an ongoing dialogue where the patient would then hopefully step forward to correct you, and it could be another round of empathic understanding and maybe even a rupture repair. So I appreciated your willingness to put that out there and see what would happen. I thought your nonverbals just matched beautifully what you were saying. You were very attuned and soft, while at the same time being forthright, which I think is a hard combination. And so I too will give you an 8.
Great, congratulations, Tolly. So I am now going to pull up the second video.
Honestly, I don't think you can help me. I mean, maybe if I had your life, I could just sit around and relax, but I don't. So I don't see how you can probably help me fix my problem for me.
It sounds like you're questioning if I can help you, or even if therapy can help you right now. And then imagine when you come into therapy seeking help, it shows that there's something really important to you. You want to see something change. Maybe there's something I haven't been very clear to you about how therapy works. Part of this process is us working together. I may not have all the answers for you on how to make the change you want, but I'm here to hear you out so we can find something together. I wonder, what was that like for you, when you sit in this feeling that I'm not this therapy that you're looking for, there to help you? What was that like for you?
Great. So Dr. James Boswell.
What a difficult scenario, to be put on the spot like that in face of rupture, especially in this context. And so again, thinking as a supervisor, not just as a judge in this particular case, I'm really impressed by your response, given that you're on the hot seat in a situation like this. And I think starting with, it sounds like I do like that style, in terms of it's more tentative. It's like what I'm hearing is, I think that's a good way to start, when you're going to respond to something like this. And I think that you were capturing the part of the client's experience in your response too, in trying to convey empathy and validation. And I think that you also added in accountability too at some level there, and sort of talking about sort of what role you might be playing, in contributing to this rupture. And at the end, also sort of part of good rupture repair, sort of engaging in an invitation to the client to continue to explore the nature of the rupture and the here and now, in terms of what it was like for them to say that to you, because it's quite difficult. And what I also thought was very interesting about your response was that you sort of planted a seed in sort of trying to talk through, maybe, is this a general sort of concern, maybe negative outcome expectancy or task, low sort of, or disagreement on tasks, et cetera? Is this a more general therapy concern, or is this about your particular relationship with the client? And because those are potentially distinguishable things. And so I thought that was an interesting move. And so overall, I think it was well done, and I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Great, congratulations. Dr. Hannah Levinson.
Yes, thank you. I also appreciated that you not only owned the comment with regard to yourself, but also tentatively questioned maybe this had something to do with treatment in general, which I thought then opened up a space, for the client to even say more. So I appreciated that. You also said something having to do with not having all the answers, so you were owning that level of accountability in terms of what you know and what you don't know. You took on, maybe you haven't made things clear enough, so I appreciated that as well. And I particularly noted that you stated maybe we can find something together. And being a relational therapist, I very much enjoyed hearing you say that, because it already puts you in the mix with her as a team and not so much as separate entities. So I thought that was a lovely use of language and your heart and your intention. So I am going to give you a 9 for the score. Thank you.
Congratulations, Charlie. You got some good scores there. So I'm going to move you back to the, hold on one second.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the feedback.
So welcome back, everyone. So our third and last courageous contestant is Okiw, who is a second-year clinical psychology student in interpersonal reconstructive therapy lab, headed by Professor Ken Critchfield. Welcome, Okiw. You will see 2 video prompts. Please reply to each prompt following the skill criteria that you will see on the screen. Our dear expert judges will then provide a final score and feedback for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, good luck.
Okay, Okiw, I'm going to share my screen.
I'm an Alcoholic Anonymous, and on the step where we say sorry to people, I've been making a list of all the people I've disappointed and hurt, and there's so many. I don't even know if I can handle it.
Sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed by this task that you want to do, but it's also feeling like maybe you aren't able to do it because it's such a big task.
Great. And going alphabetically, Dr. James Boswell.
So I think you responded very well to that situation. I mean, I think there's obviously a lot of intense emotion happening in that moment, and the client is in distress, and so you marked feeling overwhelmed. So kind of a reflection of that feeling, what you're noticing there, in what the client was sharing. I think that was nicely done. I think your tone was calm, and you were clearly present. And I think, given where the state of the client in that particular instant, I think that you sort of struck the right balance there in terms of the tone and what you were sharing. And I do think that it's you did say it tentatively. It's sort of the tentative exploratory tone around different parts of the client, sort of ambivalence around engaging in this AA step, in wanting to do it, but yet struggling because for various reasons, because the client's overwhelmed. And so I thought it was interesting, sort of, that you marked that conflict or that ambivalence in that moment, but you did so in an exploratory way, which I think was useful. And no questioning, no advising, no reassuring. So that was well done too. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Congratulations. And Dr. Hannah Levinson.
Yes, thank you, Okiw. Well, you immediately went for stating what you thought was the essential element in the communication, which was the conflict that she was having between wanting to do something and also finding that it was a big task. So I appreciated your naming that conflict, yet in an exploratory, open way. You also mentioned that she was probably overwhelmed. So I appreciated that you not only talked about the core meaning, but also the core feeling, that she was was going through. So I think you hit both aspects of that first skill criterion excellently. And you certainly used an exploratory and tentative tone. And I thought the words that you used, the simplicity of the words that you used allowed you to say something very complex in a very empathic manner. So I enjoyed your response. Thank you very much. And I gave you an 8.5.
Great, congratulations. So I've pulled up a second video and I'm going to share my screen.
Honestly, I don't think you can help me. I mean, maybe if I had your life, I could just sit around and relax, but I don't. So I don't see how you can probably help me fix my problem for me.
I appreciate that you're telling me this because it's important for me to know that you feel this way. And I think it makes sense that you're feeling this way. I think you're looking at me and you're saying that I have a different life than you. And somebody who has a different life might not be able to understand what's going on and might not be able to help you. And I'm wondering what it is that, if there's something in particular that's making you feel this way.
Great. Dr. James Boswell.
Really on the hot seat with this one. It's a difficult situation. And I think similar to the first example or the first clip, I think you did a really good job of hanging in there, of staying present and remaining calm and non-defensive and taking an exploratory stance, and immediately expressed your appreciation for the client's willingness to bring that up, and empathizing and validating with the client, sort of identifying how this is actually very important and useful for the work that you're doing. And then finally, also, responding with a question. So again, inviting the client to continue to discuss this, sort of opening up a dialogue so that you can actually collaboratively address the rupture. And again, that's part of the non-defensiveness, being willing to talk about this, recognizing the importance of it. And I thought you also did a really good job, I'll add. And again, sort of, I think going maybe even a step beyond sort of the content to try to really capture what it was like from the client's experience. So you're sitting across from me and you're having these doubts. I can, that sounds like that must be very difficult, if you're struggling this way in our work together. And so I appreciated that. And so I will give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Great. And Dr. Hannah Levinson.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, right from the beginning, you were nodding subtly, but very much nodding with each aggressive thing that she said. You were encouraging that, indicating you were listening, that you were receptive. So I thought your nonverbals were beautifully in tune, but then with what you later said, you invited her to say something particular to further the conversation. You would like to ground it in something more specific, something more concrete. But I'm going to give you extra points for really emphasizing that you have a different life than she does. And I think the willingness of the therapist to come out and say that, in fact, our empirical literature suggests it's really up to the therapist to draw those kinds of comparisons where there are those differences. I think that was very courageous of you. And so I'm going to give you an 8.5.
Congratulations. So we had some very high scoring contestants, and Alex, I'm going to pin you Okay. Take it away, Alex.
Thank you very much. Just finishing up the math here. 1 second. All right. So this is a very interesting outcome. So first of all, congratulations once again, everyone. You all did great. I want to thank again Hannah and James for their wonderful feedback and with the scoring. So I'll tell you good news first. We do not have a third place this night because we actually have a tie for second place.
Wow.
You all did so well that we have 2 silver medals for tonight. So officially, I'd like to say that our first silver medal for the Therapist Throwdown goes to Jolly Chen. Congratulations. And our second silver medal goes to Okiw. Congratulations. You have both won a $50 gift card. And as you can all guess by now, the gold medal for Therapist Throwdown of this year goes to Jen Eng. Congratulations, Jen. Wonderful job. This was a very tight race by very, very few points. So it was indeed a huge luxury for us to get to see your great interventions. We'd like to thank our sponsors, psychotherapy.net and the Very Bad Therapy podcast for their support. And very much especially our celebrity guest judges, James Boswell, Hannah Levinson. Thank you again. A silent round of applause for them. And most of all, we want to thank the very many courageous trainees who participated in the preliminary round for the Therapist Throwdown and the trainees who participated today. Your courage and dedication to therapeutic excellence is an inspiration for us all. We hope to see you again in future contests. And so for now, thank you so much and good night.